Welcome, Joseph Gigliotti here to the program on MMA Oddsbreaker, 6-0, getting ready to do battle against John Poppy, RFA 37, April 15th in South Dakota. I've got to ask, have you been to South Dakota yet?
Yes, I have. I was there in August. I was scheduled to fight in August, and I actually ended up missing weight and offered my opponent 50%, and he didn't take it, so I didn't get the chance to fight. But
How much were you overweight by?
It was scheduled at 170, and then I weighed in. I think it was right around 175. I think it was like 74.8 or something. So I was over a couple pounds for sure.
But so I got to ask, and maybe you can answer, and maybe don't want to answer. You offered your opponent 50% of your purse. Well, was it $500? Was it $1,500? Like, what was 50% of your purse?
Yeah. I think it was for 1-1, so I want to say it was 500.
It would have been 500. It would have been 500 unless you won the fight, and then he would have got 1,000. So it's $100 a pound, which at the RFA level is actually a pretty good price because you probably almost increased his pay by 50% if he just took that money. You know, he's probably on the same schedule. So who was the opponent?
His name was AJ Dobson. He's from Southern Ohio. And I'm from Northeastern Ohio, so it would have been a nice little fight, but it was definitely my fault. You know, I take responsibility, and it was unprofessional. But I was just looking to put on a fight. So
you have a wrestling background, right? You come from a wrestling background?
Yeah, I've been wrestling since second grade, Northeastern Ohio. I never really I didn't have any accolades or anything. I was about average, but we got tough divisions in Ohio, so I definitely saw a lot of good competition.
Yeah. A couple of my really good friends, Marcus Malika and Alan Freed, both are from Ohio, went on and became national champs in college. One from Arizona State, one from Oklahoma State, and incredible. And when they came in, they were touted as like some of the best guys in the state coming through. I'm born and raised in Rochester, New York, so we spent a lot of time over in Ohio competing, and the average guy in Ohio is really, really freaking good. I can't tell you how many tough matches I had coming through from guys who are just like second string or third string on their high school team. It was like incredible, like how good the wrestling is over there. Same with Pennsylvania. It's a great little area of the country.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So the reason why I asked you that and brought it up is because what the fuck were you thinking not coming in on weight?
Yeah, and Aaron Simpson says hi, by the way. I talked to him earlier. But yeah, he wasn't too happy with me, and obviously coming from a wrestling background, it's not acceptable. I take full responsibility. I just my body dried up, water loading and deloading, and I was in the sauna and just couldn't sweat anymore, and it definitely kind of ate at me for a little bit. So that's why I'm really excited to get back out there and kind of avenge what had happened and put on a good show for the people in Sioux Falls.
So last time you fought was in January. So when was the fight that you missed weight at? How long ago was that?
That was in August. Waiting a little bit. And the one before that was actually in March. So I was on a 10-month layoff. And I'm kind of younger, but it was good to train, and I made a lot of improvements training, and I gained a lot of skill and knowledge. So.
No, I just interviewed your opponent, John Poppy, and he was talking about. He's been in the game for 8 years. You've only been in the game for about 2 years, right? And in that 2 years, you've had a 10-month layoff.
Yeah.
So it's tough to really get to a point where right now you're using a lot of your athletic ability because you're 6-0. Getting the technique game put into it usually happens after your first tough loss, but your first tough loss was actually missing weight. So you've already had that tough loss. You're like, geez, I didn't get that fight. I didn't get that payday. Now what do I do? You spent a lot of time really working on your technique. John is under the impression that this fight will more than likely be two wrestlers with good striking that nullify each other out in both areas and will just stand there and have to stay in the pocket and swing at each other. Do you see this fight going the same way? Where it's going to be mainly a stand-up fight, you guys just trying to swing at each other, trying to basically absorbing and staying in the center of the cage?
I think that's probably a good description. I think wrestling, our wrestling can definitely cancel each other out. I've been working a lot on my stand-up game and striking, trying to incorporate a lot of kicks. Coming from, wrestling, my wrestling stance is southpaw stance. So, I kind of had to learn the orthodox stance and incorporating kicks and different combos. But I feel like my skill is definitely increased, especially it was kind of a blessing in disguise with that 10-month layoff. So I got to really focus in on a lot of stuff, but I think it could be a nice stand-up match. I know he's a tough dude. So you never know in the fight though. We'll see what happens, but I think it could be a nice stand-up match for sure.
You obviously have an orthodox style of wrestling, which is right leg led with right hand led, which is what in wrestling what they want to have. You want to have your power appendages in front. And then in boxing, you want to have your power appendage behind. So you have to switch stance now to go from wrestling to punching?
Yeah, so my wrestling stance was a southpaw stance, and then now it's orthodox. But my left leg, my lead leg is my stronger leg. So my right hand is strong and my left leg is strong. So it kind of works out, but just kind of hone in on those skills and learning proper technique, and we'll see what happens.
I've got to talk to Aaron Simpson, your coach, about that because I've always been from the long ranging belief. If you've been standing in a right leg led stance, a technical boxing southpaw stance since second grade, why would you now try to change your stance up to compete and strike? Why don't you just teach you how to punch left-handed? A lot of Russians in the amateur level of boxing stand left-handed because their power hand's in front. It's all about scoring points, so they throw a lot of jabs, a lot of hooks. Because their right hand is obviously their power hand, but now it's being led. And I've always been like, well, just lead with a right hand. Just lead the jab and get back into wrestling. So I got to talk to Simpson and see kind of what's the mentality of making wrestlers switch stances. Like I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, but it seems to be for you at least. It seems to be working. You've got 3 submissions and 3 KO TKO, so it's not like it's not working and you're trying to figure out the right stance. It's working for you, and you're not just beating guys, you're essentially crushing guys with this type of stance work. How hard was it for you to get really, really comfortable with this? Was it a month long just in practice? Did it take you 2 fights to get comfortable with it? Like how long did it take you to get comfortable?
I honestly would say that I'm comfortable fully yet. It's it's still a work in progress, and I can definitely feel myself get frustrated during sparring rounds and stuff, and different styles, different ranges. We got a whole bunch of guys here. Bader brings a different style. CB brings a different style. Daniel Sarafi and Kiko France. Seth Baczynski, he's super long, so I get to see a lot of different styles, and that really helps me out a lot. But I don't think that I'm comfortable yet. Still a work in progress for sure.
You mentioned a lot of named guys, and like for the folks at home, they all know who those guys are. Obviously, Joseph's over at Power MMA in Arizona with Aaron Simpson and CB Dalloway and Ryan Bader and those guys. Who's your main training partner? Like when you come in, every day this is the guy you're definitely gonna be doing rounds with.
I would say my main training partners, and especially for this camp, was Jordan Larson. Until he got injured, he was going to be on the card as well, and he had to pull out. I would say Jordan Larson and Logan Storley, who's also fighting on the card. But we really, all those guys that I mentioned, we kind of swap in with each other, and we give each other different looks. So I would say those guys that I mentioned before, along with Jordan Larson and Logan Storley, that's probably my main guys.
I got to ask you, Jordan Larson was going to fight Brian Camozzi, correct, on the same card? And he had to pull out. Correct, yeah. And Larson's from South Dakota, so he basically was just going home to fight. Yeah. Now Camozzi's fighting someone from Minnesota. Forgive me, I forget his name. What happened with Larson? Because Brian was not sure. He just heard he was injured. But he doesn't know if it was a severe injury. It was like an easy injury, a light injury. Someone will be back from very, 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 very quickly. Like, what happened to Larson?
We were wrestling a couple weeks ago, and his knee just got put in like a compromised situation. It was one of those freak kind of things, and I'm not even sure if he got an MRI on it yet or not. He probably did, but it was just one of those freak things, and it was just kind of to the point where you need to decide if you're going to buck up and do it or you're going to take a chance and go. And he was talking with Aaron a bunch, and he just came to the conclusion that it's not worth it. And, he's fought a bunch at South Dakota, and, his fans know what he brings to the table, and he sells out the crowd pretty much. But I think it's probably good in the long run that he's going to let it heal. Just because it was kind of at the point where, you want to be as prepared as you can. And, he was missing out on some of the preparation. So him and Aaron talked about it, and he's upset, but, he'll live to fight another day and, not risk a serious injury. I think it's better in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I believe that, especially when it's knees, shoulders, and lower back, you should definitely take some time off. Take a break from it, especially in MMA. Those are going to be the main appendages you got to use, and those are the ones that get hurt the easiest. Obviously, you can check a kick and hurt your knee. If it's already damaged, that can be the fight ender, right there. So, super smart. I'm going to ask you a really, really tough question, and it's the first time I've asked anybody this question. I've known Aaron Simpson for 20, almost 20 years. Yeah, almost 20 years I've known Aaron. We were training partners. We never competed because we're two different weight classes. I've been around his twins. I've been around his wife. I've been around his whole family. Like I know Aaron. I don't want to say intimately because it sounds a little sexual, but I know him very, very deeply. Like we've spent a lot of time together in the sauna cutting weight. We spent a lot of time in some deep, dark holes, like trying to get our weight down and being miserable and kind of being there. I know Aaron as a person. I don't know him as a coach. You've had a lot of coaches, and you come from a wrestling background, so you've had a lot of different coaches coming up through your ranks. How do you compare Aaron to everybody else as far as your coaching goes throughout your career, starting all the way back in second grade?
And yeah, like you said, I've had a lot of great coaches, and there's a lot of people that I owe a lot of credit to coming up through the ranks and putting me and believing in me. But I would say he's the best coach. Not only for skill wise that I've ever had and the knowledge that he brings, but just as a person. We talk not almost every, when we're not at the gym, or he's on vacation right now, but, we still talk almost every day, and he really cares about me, and, he's very personable, and he looks after, his people. And I'm really blessed for everything, everything that he's helped me with and everything he's done for me. I can say 100% fact I would not be where I'm at right now without Aaron Simpson. So I owe him a lot, and we'll just take this ride as far as it goes, and get to the UFC and start climbing the ladder for sure.
And there's a lot of things that wrestlers make the mistake of coming into MMA. One of them is getting tied up with a bad camp that's not a bad camp, but a camp that doesn't fit for them, and they get put in the wrong direction. The other problem a lot of wrestlers have is that you can't take me down, and I can hit you really hard, and wrestling's really exhausting, so I'm not going to wrestle you anymore. I'm just going to punch you. So that's what happens with a lot of wrestlers when they get into the game. And then the other problem is that wrestlers are obscenely loyal. Like, they will stay loyal to their camps and loyal to their friends and loyal to their coaches way beyond they should have. They should have moved on a long time ago just because they've outgrown the coaching staff or outgrown the people they're around. At least with Power MMA, you're in a position where if you can outgrow them, you're looking at 10 or 15 years from now before you can outgrow that staff at least. If there was one thing that Aaron could improve on as a coach, obviously he can't help that he's not very good looking. That's just how it works. If there's anything that he could improve on as a coach that you see, what do you think it would be?
That's a really tough question. I would say he's very, very tough. I would say probably. And because we got so many guys here at so many different levels and organizations that he's so busy, maybe I would, and this is just kind of throwing it out there, but maybe just being more like attentive and more, and I'm not saying that he's not by any means, but just more attentive and more just one-on-one with, and not necessarily myself, but maybe another one of my teammates, but just more one-on-one and more personable than he already is. That's a really tough question. I don't really know how to answer that.
And from what I've heard from Bader and from CB and from everybody else that trains over there, mind you, I'm on the outside of the box. I'm not training with you guys. I'm not in there. Is that Aaron almost cares too much. He almost has so much passion for each one of the athletes that he ends up having to spend too much time with each athlete because he cares too much about the athlete, if that makes sense, Joe.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
So that's kind of, you and I are on the same page then. Like, he needs to kind of almost not care as much, which is tough to do for a guy like Aaron.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
I was just interested. That had nothing to do with anybody else. I was just interested in that question. Hopefully the fans enjoy the question. I wanted to know, as a friend of mine, now he's moved in the coaching ranks, like kind of what's he like as a coach? I have a lot of friends that moved in the coaching ranks, and quite honestly, they suck. And they're fucking horrible. And Aaron's the one guy I'm kind of like, wow, he kind of is really good at coaching. He's like really, really smart about it. So let's let him keep doing it. So, what do you want to have after this fight? Obviously, you want to get a victory. You want to go 7-0. Do you want to go into deep waters with John to prove to the fans at home that, hey, you can make an exciting fight, last all 3 rounds, and go 15 minutes? Or do you want to prove, hey, it's an exciting fight, I'm just going to finish this guy as quickly as possible?
Yeah, no, definitely as quickly as possible. I want to get in and get out. I want to establish dominance. I want to show everybody, my improvements in my stand-up game. If the fight goes to the ground, I've been on the ground before, and, like you said, I got a couple TKOs, so I'm not scared to go to the ground. But, he's a tough guy. His last fight, he went 3 rounds, and, he got bloodied up and stuff. And he's a tough dude. I know there's probably going to be some blood that gets spilled. Hopefully not. Hopefully I can get in and get out. But, I'm prepared to go to war. But I would definitely like to get in and get out and just roll through it and get on to the next one.
Beautiful. Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate you coming on here. I think it's going to be a great fight with you and John Poppy. It's going to be, really, really worthy of RFA 37. And to be quite honest with you, if not after this fight at 7-0, when you get the victory, probably after 8-0, the Big Show is probably going to be calling you to bring you up. Just because they need more talent and they need time to build that talent to bring you in, obviously on an undercard and then on a fight pass portion of the card and bring you up from there. But I do think that one of the big shows will be calling you very, very soon. You've got the technique, you've got the style, and you're in a camp where a lot of other guys are already in the big shows, one of the other, whether it's Bellator or UFC. So I think you're well on your way, and you're in the right place to do it. At least for right now in your career, so the right spot for you to be is right there at Power MMA.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words, and I'm definitely looking to put on a show. But thanks for having me on this, and it was good talking to you. I was kind of freaking out. I told my brother, I was like, I got an interview with Frank Trigg, and he's like, oh man, he's in the Hall of Fame. So it was really cool for for me and my family. So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. We'll definitely be talking again soon. I know.
Awesome.
Take care.
Hey, you too. Thank you.